Hi, I'm Red Snapper.
And I'm Mr. Snapper.
And welcome to
Project Nutmeg!
We got a pet first aid kit for the car a few years ago after Coco was injured at the dog park. We'll put a link in the show description for the version of this kit that Amazon has available now. This is from back then, so the bag may be a different color.
The kit looks a lot like a human first aid kit, so keep that in mind as we go through it. A lot of first aid supplies that aren't medications or medicated ointments can be shared between humans and pets, but definitely don't share medications or medicated ointments.
Yes, please don't do that. Use something specific for pets.
Yeah.
And just like we mentioned in our emergency preparedness video, which you can see here or find in the show description, you need to check the expiration dates on the contents and replace them. Expired gauze can be used to stop bleeding, but the packaging may not have kept its sterility past the expiration date.
Before we get into this kit, there are a few other things worth having on hand. Make sure you have a muzzle that fits. Dogs don't like wearing them, but they keep everyone safe when your pup is seriously injured.
Does this fit?
Does it fit? They don't like them. But
it hasn't. Yeah, this is a cheap one that hasn't been adjusted to her size. This is supposed to fit, I know, dogs of all sizes, and I don't know that it does.
It would not fit Coca.
No.
If you've ever had to help an injured dog, you know, they get snippy. And you don't need to get yourself injured at the same time.
No, test the fit before you need to actually use it.
We need to adjust that for her.
We should adjust that.
It's a good time, actually.
We should adjust that now.
Let's adjust that here. Let's put this on your little head.
She does not like it.
She does not like it. It's okay. It's
hey,
okay.
Baby.
Well, and it's not like it's torture, or it's not like we're punishing her. You know, it's like, oh, this is just a little thing we're gonna do right now.
She's used to wearing clothes.
Just a little bit of clothes.
Do we need a little bit more?
Just a little bit more.
And this is supposed to fit large dogs.
There's no way.
Are you kidding? This was like a $6 Amazon muzzle that I'm not going to link to. Find one that's good for you. I was looking for something fast, so we'd have it for this.
What a good girl.
Look at that.
Look at you.
Oh, look
muzzle.
at you.
Okay,
good job.
Good girl.
Yeah.
So good. Yay, yeah, lick the muzzle.
Make sure that you have a muzzle. Get some self-adhesive elastic bandage wrap, which is what they use to hold the gauze in place after your pet has surgery or a dental cleaning. And it sticks to itself and not to the fur. This, I got a box of all colors of
It's a tear.
Of this elastic self-adhesive gauze. I mean, it looks better if you cut it, of course, but this is just a demonstration. Sticks to itself. This box will also link to in the show description in case you want to get this or know what we're talking about even more. But it comes with gauze as well. It also has fantastic instructions so that you know how to use it and you're not completely lost. This is what she wore when she had her little leg bandaged for her broken paw.
When they splinted her, they splinted her with that. That stuff.
And it worked really nicely.
We're just going to put that out of reach because that seems like the sort of thing you would eat.
And make sure that you keep their Elizabethan or E collar in case you need it.
Is that what the E stands for?
Of course.
Elizabethan. Wow.
Elizabethan collar.
Learn something new every day. So your dog is like Shakespeare.
Exactly.
When they're wearing those.
Shakespeare collar.
I mean, some people call it a cone of shame, but we prefer to call it a cone of misfortune.
A cone of misfortune.
Yeah, it's more accurate.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like it's the dog's fault they're in it.
Sure.
They had to get neutered or they were injured. So stop shaming the dog unless they eat an entire submarine sandwich from your counter or poop in front of a running robot vacuum.
That's right. Then you can shame your dog.
Then you can shame them.
But cone of shame. The poor dog's been through enough.
Yes.
You can also use soft cones or clothing to keep them from agitating a wound. Bus wore a surgical suit after getting lumps removed, which we still have. And Nutmeg has a bunch of dresses. So recently, this little poops, I don't know if you can see this, but she had a little wound. We're not sure where the wound came from. Might have been a bug bite that got irritated. She might have scratched herself rolling around on the ground outside, which she does.
Or she might have been rolled by Coca. Coca grooms her own nails, and they're a little sharp. So
Yeah,
Coca has sharp
could've
dew claws, and it's possible that in rolling through the yard, barking at Mrs. Smith, Coca caught her.
Yeah. So we trimmed the hair around the wound to get a good look at it. We scheduled her for a vet appointment to make sure everything was okay, and she got a prescription for an antibiotic and for a little ointment that we rub in. But the ointment is the key here. So for this particular story, the ointment, you rub it on the skin, you rub it in the skin, but then she's running around with ointment that she could lick.
She rolls on the ground, too.
She ground.
Scratches her back like a bear.
So we would put her, after putting the ointment on her, put her in one of her dresses with
an unscented panty liner. You can stick an unscented panty liner above any spot that might touch the wound to absorb any fluid that the wound might release. It's also good for the ointment if it's rubbing off. When she was first injured, before she could go to the vet, she had agility classes, and I needed to take her, but I didn't need a seeping wound.
Right.
So we put her in a dress rather than a cone, and then put a panty liner on the dress where it would touch this area. So it was still getting lots of air, but any funk that was coming out of the wound would get onto the panty liner until the whole area scabbed up. And then she wears her dress when she's getting treatment. Right after the ointment, she wears the dress for about 2 hours with the panty liner attached.
Yeah, give the ointment a chance to absorb into the skin. And this is looking pretty good, kid. Okay, let's get into the kit. If your first aid kit has written instructions for first aid, read them before an emergency happens so you can retain something for when you're freaking out. I mean, that's really the right time to learn how to do first aid is before you need to use first aid. And you can, of course, use the internet if you have access. Which, if you're watching this, you probably do.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
How weird would it be if you don't have internet access and you're watching this?
Yeah.
Do we have a fan out the window?
Oh, hey, how's it going? I hope you're enjoying it. I'd ask you
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Just a guess here, but there's probably a lot of videos on YouTube, or at least one or two, about like first aid basics for dogs.
Yep.
In fact, there might just be one such video in the description below.
What? But it is the best time to test the muzzle beforehand and make sure it's the right size. Have the first aid kit. You're preparing for things.
Emergency preparedness. Oops.
Yes, emergency preparedness. She's done with us preparing on her. So let's go through this kit. This is a Kurgo kit that has both this little metal hook with a loop on the strap, and it has hook and loop tape.
It has both.
It has both. Well, think about it. You're in an emergency. You're like,
how do I open this thing?
Open the thing.
I've always admired this, by the way, because this is really cool how this works. Because this is what it looks like without the loop on it, and then it's really cool. I like that. It's really neat.
It's like a swimsuit hook, but more durable. All right, and it's got a wrist strap so that you can, if you need to throw it on your wrist and run, you can. All right, let's start. We've got 3 zippered sections, and you know what? If you need to, you could hang this on a thing.
What?
So that's a pretty dope thing. Zippered section, and then pockets in here. So in the first zippered section, let's see what we've got.
Exam gloves. These are probably the vinyl. It doesn't say. Although if you do have a latex allergy and you get a first aid kit, check the gloves, as a first thing.
Check the gloves.
And you can probably, if you buy it on Amazon, you can see it or if you buy it in the store, you read the packaging and make sure that, I think most of these days are the, whatever it's called, nitrine or...
Nitrile. We're probably saying it wrong.
Probably. If we're saying it wrong, please let us know in the comments.
But they're the kind of gloves that dentists' offices and doctors' offices use, or we use in our kitchen for cooking.
Right. If you have a latex allergy, that's what you want instead of latex.
Yes. We've got tweezers, plastic tweezers, pretty big tweezers too.
Those are pretty big.
So if you're pulling bone shards out, it makes sense.
Good
but
God. I can't imagine, though, actually trying to remove like a splinter from a wriggling dog. But yeah, it's good to have these. Good
it's good to have them.
You know, maybe if your dog gets stung by a bee, you could use this to pull the stinger out, you know?
Maybe. I don't know that the stingers are that big, but okay. Yeah. We've got an instant ice pack, which is great. So you can just, you know, crack it. And then we have the emergency blanket, which it's like Mylar. This is good for heat in an emergency situation or if somebody's going into shock.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about Mylar blankets in a previous video for some weird reason, but it's so weird to me that they actually work.
It is weird, but they are, I mean, apparently they work.
Apparently they work.
They're in every kit. Moving to the next section, we've got alcohol pads. And sting relief medicated pads. Oh,
interesting.
Do you see this? It's got a little leak spot.
Little leak spot.
So this sting relief medicated pad, we're going to have to replace these. I don't see an expiration date.
I see on this one too.
Yeah. So, yeah, these are things we'll have to replace.
Making a note.
Because we bought this kit years ago.
Replace sting. Thank you. Sting relief.
Medicated pad.
Relief medicated pad. If you don't mind, we're just going to make our shopping list of what we need to replace.
There's also a povidone iodine prep pad. I wonder if this is like that yellow stuff, the Bactine that they would put on some kids when they'd get injured in school. Because iodine can turn things yellow.
Maybe. Gosh,
anyway.
Do they still make Bactine?
I'm sure
Is that still a thing?
I'm sure they do. There are still boomers alive. There's got to still be Bactine.
When I was a kid, they told me I had a teacher who was, you know, because they'd keep Bactine in school.
Yeah.
If you get like injured, they'd spray you with Bactine and send you back into the wild.
Yeah.
And I had a teacher or like an assistant principal or someone, maybe a school nurse, who was talking about how when the astronauts came down from the moon, they were being followed around by someone who was just sort of spraying Bactine everywhere, just in case they brought back something.
Moon measles.
Moon measles.
That's amazing. I never got the Bactine in school. I saw kids with yellow on them, and I was like, what happened to these kids?
How is that possible? You were very rough and tumble.
I know. I was agile, I guess.
Agile.
I was agile, rough and tumble. These are all replaceable. I mean, we buy packages of alcohol pads because I use them for pasty preparation.
That's right.
Next, we have a tourniquet.
Oh, a tourniquet.
It's not elasticy. It's just
It's almost like...
probably a cotton strap.
It's almost like, what's that stuff called they make belts out of?
Webbing.
Webbing. It's almost like webbing.
It's almost like webbing, but a lot of the webbing is polyester. I think this is a cotton or a poly cotton. It's not slick. You may notice that it's matte so that it will catch on itself. Anything that is shiny and slick looking, I mean, you're going to use what you use in an emergency, in a true emergency. But you want something that won't slip for the tourniquet.
I would feel like that's something I need to look up, like how to apply a tourniquet, because that's kind of freaks me out. Because I've heard like if you do it wrong, you could wind up having to have something amputated because you cut off the blood flow inappropriately, or I don't know how they work. Clearly, I don't know how they work. So this is something that after we're done, I should watch a video on YouTube about how to apply a tourniquet.
Yes, write that down.
I'm going to write that down. Here, take that back.
Okay, I'll take this back. Also,
watch video.
He handed it back to me in an absolute mess.
Watch video. Hey, I'm trying to learn here.
How did
watch
you even?
Video,
I mean, this is
about.
Oh, you had to unwrap the whole thing so that you could hand me this pile of garbage.
Tourniquets.
What even? Oh.
Okay, hand it back.
Look, fidget with it the entire video.
That's what I like to do.
Okay, there's also paper tape in here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Paper tape. You want to use paper tape for anything that's going on your skin or on, I almost used a swear word. I'm going to use it anyway. Or your dog's fucking fur. I'll bleep it out later. Because plastic tape is fantastic, but super adhesive. And will rip a layer of skin off when you try to take it off.
Not every time. It won't rip a layer of skin off every time.
But it's way more aggressive plastic tape. And I'm sure there's a perfectly good use for it. But my experience, if I'm going to stick something to my dog, I'm going to use paper tape rather than plastic tape because I know it's just going to rip the fur out.
But the paper tape won't stick very well to a hairy dog. We tried paper tape and gauze over her wound before we went with the dress and panty liner application.
That's a very good point.
And then we have cotton swabs, which that's great if you need to get something out of a wound or clean a wound.
Or put ointment in a wound.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's much better. It's not the same shape, but I'll take it.
I think it's a better shape.
Well, that's fine.
It's round now. It's circular.
You do you.
It was oval
All
before.
things circular. Okay. Then the last one has hand wash cleansing wipes.
Very smart.
We have 3 of these, so I guess we had to use one for an emergency. It's worth getting some of these and just keeping them on hand. And they don't, when you replenish your kit, you don't have to use the exact same brand of thing that's in the kit. You can get whatever. We got a sack of hand wash cleansing wipes during the 2020 season of life, the gas leak year of life.
Yeah.
We got those so that we'd have them handy if we need to clean our hands wherever we went. We're into the last section of this. We have
creepy bandage.
Creepy bandage.
Creepy bandage.
Creepy paper.
It's crepe paper.
Creepy paper.
Crepe paper, master?
Creepy. Oh, multi-pack.
Crepe bandage, which I'm not going to open, obviously.
No,
it's
it's
a bandage.
sterile. I wonder if it is the same kind of elastic that we have over here.
It doesn't look like elastic. Let's see. Used for varicose veins, weak ankles, legs, knees, and wrist sprains and general support. So I guess it's similar.
But more like an ace bandage type.
Yeah, that's probably why.
For support. This is for support, and that's just for keeping gauze in place.
Yeah, because I don't think this sticks to itself. Whoops. It doesn't stick in my hands, obviously.
No.
I don't think it sticks to itself, but I don't know. I could be wrong, but I'm not going to open it to find out. So.
Awesome.
Tongue depressors.
Or puppet sticks.
Puppet sticks. Well, now this is the only thing so far in this kit that I'm like...
Okay, boomer.
Okay, Nutmeg, open up and say ah.
Right?
I don't know.
I don't know that. I mean, honestly, if your dog has something, an injury in their mouth.
Of course. Sorry. Splints.
Splints.
If you need to do an emergency splint on a tiny little dog leg, wrap it with this. That's, whoops, again, does not stick even in my hands.
Dropsies. That makes sense, using these for splints. Because I'm like, if your dog has an injury in their mouth, they are not going to, they'll like bite through the stick. Even Nutmeg would bite through this little stick.
You need to reset your leg. Here, chomp down on it.
It's like the Westerns, like, okay, it's time to saw off your leg. Here, chew on my belt.
Bite down on this.
Exactly. Take a shot of whiskey.
There's no whiskey in this kit.
Chew on this horse hoof.
I'm guessing alcohol is probably not good for dogs to drink.
Probably not good for them to drink.
Not.
All right, here we go. We've got nice sterile gauze pads. There are 3 of these big ones. And again, if you're replenishing things in a kit, you don't have to buy the exact thing. So you could I guess I'll get a big one in case they have a big wound on their back. If we'd had this kit when she was injured at the dog park, then we might have stuck something like this on her because Coco didn't wear clothes. So we couldn't do the panty liner and a dress kit, but we could put that on her with your paper tape.
I like that it says for single use only. So you don't use it on a big gnarly wound and then just like, okay, that's good. I'm just going to rinse it off and use it again later.
I'm just going to flip it over.
Single use only. Oh, brother.
Then we've got little ones and we need to replace we've got a little stain on there.
Does it say like what size? Is it like
sure, 2 by 2.
2 by 2. 2 by 2.
But
sterile.
we don't have to get the exact size. It just needs to be smallish. We've got giant gaping wound or gaping wound on Coca size and gaping wound on Nutmeg size. Basically.
Massive head wound, hairy size.
Massive head wound, hairy size.
He probably smells my dog.
And then we've got another a PBT. I want to love you.
I was about to say, isn't that a Michael Jackson song?
We can't have the music going because we don't want to get a strike for
So this is just like a
rolled cotton bandage.
rolled cotton bandage.
If you need to put a light
Yeah.
bandage around something. And now if your pet has a broken thing and you have to use one of these, then you could use one of these, and then you could use the creepy bandage, or you could use the elastic bandage. If you are in a situation where you need to stabilize something enough to get to the hospital, because they don't have 911 for pets.
Yeah, they don't have 911 for pets.
So,
And again, like pitch for taking the time to find your nearest emergency vet. Like do it now, look it up now.
put it on the refrigerator now, program
that-
it into your phone now.
That if, heavens forbid, you need to take your dog to the emergency vet, you already know where to go. So
Yes. And there's a tiny pair of scissors. These are blunt ended, which is good because if you have to do anything near the eyes.
remember I tore this earlier?
Yeah. So you can just
Even that out.
do. It's like kindergarten scissors. But you just need, for this kit, you just need something that will cut bluntly.
Cut bandages.
Trim hair out of the way. If you need to trim hair from a thing to stick a bandage on somebody.
Yeah, you're not doing surgery with
No,
these scissors.
these are not surgical scissors. These are first aid kit scissors, and you're not using the end to pry anything. Very basic stuff. I will say on the emergency preparedness front, we do have an episode on emergency preparedness. We also have an episode about insurance and what pet insurance does. There are some places out there that have very inexpensive pet insurance specifically for accidents and emergencies. They won't handle anything if your pet winds up with cancer at some point. They don't do that, but if there's an accident or emergency, you can get something that is less expensive because the coverage is only for that thing. Maybe somebody's dog bites your dog in the dog park. I think that might be included. Investigate those. If you don't have insurance for your pet and you want to have something, look for a cheap option so that you do have something in case of emergency, because the kit is a stopgap until you can get them the care that they need.
Yeah, there's another
There is
zipper
another
on the back of this thing.
secret pocket. Let's see what's inside. My guess, instructions.
Yeah. And sure enough, look at that. Kurgo Pet First Aid. Oh, and they have a monthly win $100 Kurgo gift certificate in our monthly drawing.
Now, this is back before QR codes were a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this, who knows if this is still happening.
Probably not, but we'll definitely, we'll take money.
We'll take money. So stuff on poisoning
look
and
at this.
shock. And if you do have a healthcare subscription for your pet, like we do with Banfield, you may be able to do vet chat. Or there are services if you need to contact the vet and see, do I need to go to the emergency room and pay for that office visit based on what my dog is exhibiting? You can contact one of these services, even if you aren't on a subscription thing like that. There are other ones. I think there's one, Answers or something like that, not ask.com, but you can pay 1 month subscription. It's like $40 to get a virtual visit to talk about what's happening with your pet. If it's a borderline, I don't know if I should go to the emergency room. We've done that with all of our dogs when they've had diarrhea or they're barfing. Here's a picture of the vomit. Do I need to go to the emergency room?
What's interesting about that, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's some interesting things in this little booklet. Like it tells you how to take the heart rate and pulse and the different places where you can do that on your dog. That's pretty handy. And it does say under handling, muzzling is the first bold-faced thing, and it tells you even how to make a muzzle out of anything. So
That's really helpful.
yeah, there's some handy little tips in this. So definitely, like Red said, when you get the first aid kit, and it's not like 17 pages total. When you get one of these kits, take the time to read the book.
Yes. And they've got a notes section so you can customize it to your needs. And important phone numbers on this one, like the National Animal Poison Control Center, National Pet Recovery Hotline, emergency disaster hotline and a legal hotline if you run into animal abuse.
There you go.
That's pretty darn helpful.
I'm going to write down that URL so that we can enter for their monthly
Yeah, jot
drawing.
that down.
It's probably no longer still a thing.
One more thing about this wonderful emergency first aid kit. You can use the things inside for people. So if you don't have your own personal first aid kit in your car or at home, I mean, get one, obviously. But if your pets are a higher priority for having first aid kits than you are thinking of yourself, you can use the things in here on your own body or on a human. There's not something that is specific medication for dogs.
Which is funny, because like you said at the beginning of this video, this kind of looks like a human first aid kit.
There are fewer adhesive bandages in here than you would find in a human first aid kit. And that's all we have today. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe and boop the bell for notifications.
And talk to us. Do you have a pet first aid kit? Are you thinking about getting one? We'd really like to hear from you.
And you'll see us next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks!
This has been Massive Head Wound Harry. Next week's episode, Borrowing the Headphone.